Women putting careers over being married and being a mom. I don't think these women are being given much option. There's a lot of men out there who also don't want to work. I mean, let's just be honest. The rise of the perpetually online masturbating in his bedroom all day long man it's growing, and they're everywhere. And that leaves women with very, very few options. All right, welcome back to my channel, everyone. Hi, my name is Zarria Simmons, and this is my first video back. So currently, a little while ago, like 4 weeks ago or so, one of my videos on this channel went super viral. Big YouTubers started sharing it. I got a major influx of subscribers out of nowhere. I went from 700 to 13,000 now we're at, and it's just growing every day. Like new people are subscribing every single day. So I thought my first video back, I have so many that I want to do and things that I want to talk about, but my first video back is just a simple Q&A to tell you who I am for those of you who are new, and share a little bit about myself with you. Hopefully they're not filthy. Anyway, so yeah, a little bit about me. I'm from Texas. I'm from Houston, Texas. That's where my family lives now, but I'm all the way up here in New York City. And I guess we're going to get into my hobbies and my interests and my goals for the future as we answer some of these questions. I didn't get too many, but yeah, let's just get into it. Okay, so the very first question, and probably the most obvious, is why have I not posted in months? So I've been very busy with life in general, just like work and all of that, and trying to stay occupied. Like I said, I had only 700 subscribers, and for a while I was really enthusiastic about doing this, and then suddenly my interest in it just went away. And I just got more interested in my internships that I was doing in Washington, trying to build a network of friends and things like that here in New York City where I live now, while my family's back home in Texas. So that's kind of why I just fell off the face of the earth and stopped filming. And I also wanted to kind of discern a little bit if this was something that was actually for me, something that I wanted to do long term for, I don't know, the rest of my life, or however long people have YouTube careers. I don't know. Second question. The media has been pitting white and Black Americans against one another, and it is causing racial tension. How do we fix it? I think probably the first step in fixing something like this is recognizing what's happening. That's like the first step is recognizing that it's media that is creating these images and creating these ideas that Black and white people here in America don't like each other, that we can't get along, that we are fundamentally different, even though we share a common culture, which is an American culture, a Western culture. If you're from the West, then you're a Westerner, and we share that in common regardless of your race. So the media, I think there's definitely an agenda right now to sort of create this tension for the kind of political ideology that's trying to root itself into our society. It can't root itself into our society unless someone is the perpetual other, the perpetual evil, the perpetual victim. That's how it works. And right now, media is largely on that side of the political aisle. So of course, we're seeing so much of that in the media being pushed, even though in your day-to-day interactions, you likely are not having these experiences that they're pushing in the media and claiming are true. At least I'm not, and none of my peers are. So that would be the first step in fixing it, is realizing that it's media, that it's propaganda, and wising up to that fact and not letting it actually dictate how you think and how you interact with the other. Okay, I love your style. It's so classic and flattering. Have you always had an eye for fashion? Yes, my entire life. So when I was a kid, I was emo. I was punk, and I was a part of the goth subculture, and I still am. Like at my core, I still very much love that culture and still love the music and the literature, but that showed through my clothing. I wore a lot of Black, and I would often make my own clothes at home. I would take clothes at their base, and then I would tear them up or do something to them or stitch them somehow and turn it into something that I actually liked. So I had my own cool little style. And then as an adult, obviously, I'm no longer wearing all Black anymore, and I don't smudge eyeliner around my eyes anymore. I've changed a lot, but so has my style, and I'm still exploring it a little bit because I was very much a tomboy back then. You could not get me to do makeup, heels, dresses, none of that. Now that I'm in my 20s, I've definitely grown out of that. And I've grown up a lot and my style has changed too. Last summer, I endeavored on starting my own clothing line. And I was able to generate quite a following, like 700 followers on my clothing line's Instagram, but I had no idea what I was doing. I had no sort of like mentoring. No one was telling me how you start your own brand. So I was doing it myself and I failed miserably. That was last year, but I'm going to do it again. I'm going to start again. I'm going to try again, this time with an actual team of people. I just have to find the time and the bandwidth to actually do it, because I still very much love fashion and I hate what is happening right now in the fashion industry, the cheap clothing, the cheap appeal, the bodycon dresses, everything needs to look like it's painted on, otherwise it's not fashion. Fashion, no, but fashion is everywhere. The aesthetic is everywhere. I would like to bring back a little bit of class in the way that we dress, but that's a video for another time. So yes, I love fashion. I have an eye for fashion. Maybe soon I'll restart my clothing line under a new name and with the help of professionals who know how to run a business, who could be there with me as part of my team. Okay. So 2 questions from one subscriber. I'm not going to say you guys' names because I did not ask you all if you would be comfortable with me saying your tag name or your name on this social media profile. So 2 questions from this subscriber. 1, how far into politics do you plan to go? I don't know. Maybe, I could see myself doing something like local government, community board, local state legislature, something like that. I don't know if I would go as far as Congress. I interned on Congress last summer. I don't know if I would do Congress. I don't know if I would try to go for something that big. International development and diplomacy is something that I'm still interested in, but I have not made up my mind yet. It's there. It's right over here. I just haven't decided, yes, this is going to be a career for me, because I don't know if I want to make politics a career. Well, I think we know what happens when you have people who make a career out of politics rather than actually caring about good policy. Okay, second part of the question. How much of a role has Black church culture had in contributing to the negative perception of Christianity in American culture? By this, I mean, because I don't think you mean like Southern Black American culture, which possibly, maybe, but the scandals that happens in the Black church throughout the South happens in other churches across the United States. So if you're talking about like money embezzling, stealing from the congregation, buying luxury homes and vehicles and all of that with the congregation's money, mega churches like Olstein's church, he does that. Okay, his family is super rich. They live in a mansion. They drive nice cars. He has a plane of his own. They all do it. If you're talking about like in West Africa, where you have this sort of prosperity gospel, and all of the pastors are preaching this prosperity gospel, and they're all always, decked out in the nicest luxury clothes and coming to church, taking the congregation's money, spending it on these luxury things. That I don't think that is something that we can blame solely on the Black church. I think that there's an issue in society writ large where we place too much value on material things, and that's all across the board. So we're seeing it like in every level of society, including in the church. I don't think, however, that the Black church is to blame for this. This is just modern culture in general. Okay, next question. I love your videos. They are wonderful. Are you in college? So I'm a student at Columbia. I'm studying political science and I'm almost done. I have 2 more semesters to go and I'll be finished and hopefully going straight into working as a political analyst, writing policy. That sort of thing is the kind of thing that I would like to do. I don't know if I want to run for public office so I can actually have more control over the policy that I would like to see being done, but I'm interested in creating good policy, community work, community activism, community organizing, as well as international development. So we'll see where my life takes me once I graduate next year. Okay, so this next one is kind of long, so I'm going to shorten it a little bit. I've seen your videos on massive YouTuber pages. Did they ask to share your videos, and have you seen any revenue generated from them? I'm interested in the bigger YouTuber, smaller YouTuber dynamic, and I'm convinced some do neither. So yeah, no, I was not asked if any of these YouTubers could share my video, and I'm kind of fine with that. I mean, it's in the public sphere, and of course, if they're using my video within their video and they're making revenue off of their video, that's just going to happen. I don't have really any sort of hangups about that. I'm kind of glad, obviously, my subscriber base has jumped because of some of these larger YouTubers sharing my video. My video suddenly went viral. It suddenly jumped 200,000 views. And then at that point, bigger YouTubers picked it up. So my video went viral on its own first, and then some bigger YouTubers picked it up, and that just kind of bolstered more people coming to my page. So yeah, I've since then I've been able to monetize my channel, and even though it's not generating much, I'm still able to get something out of it. So yeah, that's not really why I created this channel in the first place, but it's nice, and I'm definitely glad and gracious that it happened. I have no issue with these bigger YouTubers sharing my video. It's been definitely a blessing for me having you all joining on as part of my audience. So yeah, no, I was never asked, and none of them are sending me any money or any paycheck, and that's fine. I'm sure it'll work itself out. It is getting dark, so let's move through the rest of these questions quickly. Next question. What does unity in Christ look like amidst all the deep division our society cultivates and revels in? Yeah, so right now, I think we're seeing a lot of hatred, bitterness in everyone. Everyone is bitter towards somebody else for some reason, angry at the other for some odd reason. There's no self-reflection either, something else that I noticed. No one is really willing to kind of pull the log out of their own eye. It's always just kind of pointing to the other person and making oneself the perpetual victim and somebody else the victimizer, the oppressor in some way. And really, I think if we were to stop and take a second and really self-reflect, we would realize that we do a lot to contribute to the hate that's going on in the world and the misunderstanding that's happening in the world. So yeah, I definitely believe that a unity in Christ would put a stop to a lot of this disrespect that we give to each other, a lot of the misunderstanding that we extend to the other, the purposeful misunderstanding, refusing to listen to the other, the plight of the other, refusing to understand the other person at all. All of that would be put to bed if we actually had this true unity in Christ. I believe so. The Catechism of the Catholic Faith of the Catholic Church, 1822, says, "Love God for your own sake and love your neighbor as yourself for his sake, for God's sake, or for the love of God." So having this kind of love for God and belief in God and belief in God's revealed truth, Christ, gives us the grace that we need to then extend that love to our neighbor. It's impossible to have this kind of love for your neighbor if you don't first have love in God. And you have this relationship back and forth, loving God, him loving you, and you're able to take this sanctifying grace that you get through this love and extend that same kind of love to another person, where you see them as a child of God also, which is, if we saw each other as unique and special and divine people who are created by God and loved by God, we would not disrespect each other's dignity so much as we do. There's no love of God, and thus there's no love between each other. So the amount of godlessness that we see in society, I think, is part of the reason why we are also simultaneously and not so coincidentally seeing a lot of hatred and disrespect amongst ourselves interpersonally. That leads me to the second question asked by a different person, but it's in the same vein. How does my faith inform my various perspectives? I converted. So I grew up Southern Black Baptist. I'm from Texas, like I told you all. I grew up Southern Black Baptist, and I was never really connected to the church when I was growing up Protestant. It wasn't until my adulthood where I left the church in my late teens. I just stopped caring about it at all. I felt like there was no point. And then suddenly, here I am now, mid-20s. Last year, spring of last year, I just kind of got back into it. And it's the same time that I left my home. I left home to come to school here in New York City. I was able to separate a little bit and get some distance from my home, from my home state, from Texas, and be a part of a different crowd with a different perspective for me that really kind of inspired me to give God a try again and really pulled me back into the church. And I've been growing in my own faith ever since. And I converted. I converted this year, Easter Vigil, to Catholicism and was confirmed. Best decision that I've ever made, ever in my life. And so, yeah, it's my faith informs every part of my perspective, from my politics to what I believe socially, to how I deal with other people, relationships. My idea of how relationships are supposed to work has changed as well. My idea about what a good life is, which is a normal life. That's just like the goal. I think media and images that we see online gives us this idea about the kind of lives that we should live and how we should be, kind of chasing after these material things. And at one point in time, I believed that too. That's all changed now that I'm in the church again and I'm growing my relationship with God, with Christ. So like every aspect of what I think, every aspect of what I believe is informed at the root with God. This foundation of God is like at the foundation of everything that I think now, and every aspect of my life, including my work life and my career and all of that. Next question. Been seeing your face in quite a few videos on the tube lately. I'm curious what made you want to do the YouTube thing. I did not want to do the YouTube thing necessarily. Like I did, but I had no idea what my interests were at all. And I'm so glad that no success has come from my YouTube channel until now, where I'm like kind of more grounded in what I believe. Because before I was all over the place. I wanted to do this type of channel and these types of videos were like, I wanted to do like lifestyle videos over here. And I wanted to do like videos on politics and social commentary over here. But I didn't really know what my own politics was. So I didn't know from where I was going to be speaking. I'm so glad that God's timing is always right. I did not need a YouTube channel back then because my mind was a bowl of spaghetti. I didn't know what I was thinking, what my politics were. Now that I'm kind of really grounded in what I actually believe, suddenly this sort of audience pops up out of nowhere. So it's not for no reason. Now I feel like I'm going to be able to take this channel more seriously and really give it more effort. I knew that I wanted to be in front of an audience. I knew that I wanted to like share my interests and my thoughts with people. Just didn't know how, and I didn't know exactly what. So hopefully now moving forward, I'm more clear and more structured and you'll be seeing more of me. Okay. What is your take on podcasts, especially the circular takes and the focus on degeneracy? First question. I like podcasts. I enjoy them. I think once you find your niche and you find your topic and you stick within that vein, that's great. And that's why you have to vary the podcast that you listen to and that you watch, because once you find your niche, that's what you stick to. And if your niche is talking about degeneracy in society and you're on a political sort of ideological side of the aisle, that is what your content is going to be. That's just what it is. And that's why you as a viewer, as a consumer of these types of things, you have to vary what it is that you watch so you get some good variety and you're not bored. I find myself getting bored with podcasters because a lot of them create the same kind of content, and it does kind of put me to sleep a little bit. A lot of the takes I do find that I get a little bored with a lot of them, that they say a lot of the same thing over and over. They're almost regurgitating the same stuff. I'm not saying that I'm going to be different because I know what my niche is: Christian, conservative, a woman. I'm going to be speaking from these perspectives about things, and that is not new. There are plenty of other people out there who are doing the same thing. I'm just hoping that I get to add my own personal voice to this already growing kind of phenomenon of conservatives online on platforms like YouTube, which goes into the follow-up questions that this subscriber sent me. Why do lots of platforms promote and ignore it as if its spike in popularity is normal? I guess that kind of goes into the politics of that platform. Like YouTube tries to maintain this kind of open kind of atmosphere where everyone is welcome. But as we have seen, certain conservative YouTubers have been kind of pushed off of the platform and have had to go to other platforms. I forget the one where like a lot of conservatives are running to this platform. It's supposed to be like the conservative YouTube. So I don't think that platforms are not responding at all. They are in their own way. Same as you see how conservatives have taken over X, formerly Twitter. Platforms are noticing it and they're responding to it in their own ways. it definitely speaks volumes to what is the norm in society. People have this idea that conservatives are like kind of the norm, and it's like, no, we're really fighting to have our own space on social media, fighting hard to have our own space on social media. It seems as though we are not at all the norm, and at least from my own perspective, that's what it seems like. So yeah, the circular takes plus the way the platforms are promoting and ignoring it, it's definitely interesting. I don't know, I cannot say how it's going to play out in the future. But this has never not been the case. Like, there's always been this kind of ebb and flow, push and pull between the ideological sides of the aisle. Either one side is more popular than the other, and the other is trying to get their voice heard and they're being silenced, or vice versa. We're now at the part of this pattern where it's flipped. It is the conservatives who are trying to make their voices heard within society and the way that society is going in terms of hedonism and pan-egoism and individualism and all of that. So this is not new. These sort of things come in patterns, and right now conservatives are at the awkward end of this pattern. Likely that's going to switch around, and it's going to be back again to conservatives having this sort of large voice and those who are not conservative trying to push for their own voice. And it's just going to keep doing that over and over. I don't know. That's just how it is. So is it here to stay? Maybe. I think you're always going to have those who are pushing in the opposite direction of what the popular norm is at the moment. That's always the case. It will likely always be the case. Okay, so we've come to the end of this video. Hopefully I wasn't talking too much and just taking forever to answer these questions. I was trying to keep it short, but I do tend to kind of, I'm working on it. Bear with me. Okay, final question. What do you think of women putting careers over being married and a mom? This is such a tough question for me because I'm Catholic and I'm conservative, so obviously I have, a somewhat traditional idea of relationships between men and women. The 1960s brought with it so much change in society. Women coming into the workplace and being able to work alongside men in the office, namely, really nowhere else. Women are not doing any sort of general labor or hard labor. It's mainly been a lot of women breaking into office spaces, sort of corporate. I can't say that I am totally against women working just because the cost of living today is extremely high, and the likelihood of every single woman of marrying age locking down a husband who makes $500,000 a year is slim. She's likely going to have to work anyway. So I think it's important that, women who want to be married and want to be moms keep that in mind, that you're likely still going to have some kind of job and help with your family. And the hypergamy culture that's on the internet today has so many women deluded, thinking that, you're going to marry a Christian Grey and he's going to be a billionaire and you'll never have to work. And that's likely not the case. You're likely going to have to help provide for your family as well. So yeah, I don't think that it's healthy that so many women are choosing to be career women over being wives and moms. But I honestly, at the same time, the pool of really good guys out there who are prepared to be good husbands and good fathers is also slim. There's a lot of men out there who are godless and hedonistic, who are looking for cheap thrills. And it's tough for women to find the guys who are serious. Because they are far and few, it seems. Just like the women who are serious and good women seem like they are far and few as well. I've heard the same thing coming from men too, who are like, there's no good women. And then women who are like, there's no good men. And so I honestly don't think a lot of women would find fulfillment entirely in having no interests of their own. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of women out there who get married and have kids and stay at home who still choose to have their own interests and still choose to have some kind of income and some kind of work for themselves. So either way, I still think that a lot of women would still choose to have some kind of job. But I don't think that it needs to interfere with your capacity and your ability and the bandwidth that you have to be a good wife and a good mom. So it's definitely difficult. The dating game today is not the same as it was for our grandparents would just date within their community. They would likely grow up with the person that they would then go on to marry. We don't have that today anymore, so dating is a lot harder. Prospects for women and men are a lot harder. You have more men who want open relationships, polygamous relationships. They listen to too many podcast bros telling them, hey, You're a high value man. Why should you be with one woman? Have a bunch. And it's so stupid, and it's tearing apart society, because family, marriage and family is the backbone of society. Without it, society falls apart. Okay, so it's beneficial for both men and women to be married. Women putting careers over being married and being a mom, I don't think these women are being given much option. There's a lot of men out there who also don't want to work. I mean, let's just be honest. The rise of the perpetually online masturbating in his bedroom all day long man it's growing, and they're everywhere. And that leaves women with very, very few options. A lot of what you hear from conservative content creators saying that women today are just like horrible, awful, man-hating, feminist lesbians, and they're all terrible. I'm not going to give into that because I don't think that it's necessarily true. I think the issue is very nuanced, and it goes back, and it goes really far back to, I mean, the whole start of the feminist movement and why it began in the first place, with men abusing their power. Feminism is a response to men not doing their job properly, to men who use their natural power and abuse it. That's just what it is. Let's just be real. And from there, it has become exacerbated and exaggerated. And I think that's partly due to modern culture, godlessness, more men being into porn, being into quick thrills. Both sides of the aisle have done damage to the other. There's a lot of people walking around today who are jilted and bitter because of, traumatic experiences that they have had with other people. And this just kind of goes into what I was talking about earlier about, godlessness. And we have no respect for one another. So much so that when we get into relationships, we lie and we cheat and we disrespect the other person's dignity. We disrespect the other person's trust. And it's no wonder why so many people are walking around bitter and angry and hurt and refusing to be in relationships and choosing to go their own way. How we got to this point, we'd have to go all the way back and really look at where this started and how this has continued to today. And that's a long discussion. I cannot say that I blame a lot of women for going their own way and choosing career. I also can't say that I blame a lot of men going their own way and choosing career over relationships. But this question needs to be two-part. It needs to be also, why, what has led to women choosing career over being married? What can men do about it, if anything at all? What have men done about it, if anything at all? What has caused it? And when you kind of look at it that way, you'll see that both men and women are to blame. We've both fallen off of the right track, living rightly, doing right by each other. Both of us are to blame for how it's gotten so bad and so bitter between us. That's a conversation for another time. It's so many little nuanced things that we'd have to, I'd be here all day if we were to go through that. So I'm just going to say that women putting careers over being married and a mom, this is not just something that's happening with women. Individualism is on the rise. People are scared of interacting with other people because they're afraid for their heart. They're afraid for their dignity. They're afraid for their own personage and being disrespected. And I get it. There's a lot of that happening in society right now. So that this women choosing career over family, over being married, that speaks to a much larger issue in society, how we glamorize material, how we glamorize divorce, how we glamorize being single and alone versus over community, which is really what we're built for. We're made for community. We're made for being a part of some kind of unit with other people. Okay, I'll stop there because I'll continue on forever. Okay, so that's it. That's all the questions that we have for today. Great questions. I really enjoyed them. I enjoyed talking about that. Hopefully this video is only 20 minutes long. I'm so sorry if it ends up being longer. I yap too much. I'm the queen of Japanese. If you are not subscribed, like, comment, share, all of that stuff that you do when you watch YouTubers, yada, yada. If you're not following me on social media, I'm more active on X, formerly Twitter. Go follow me over there. I'll drop the link down below. It's just at Zarria Simmons. Yeah, I'll pin it in the comments or whatever. And of course, I want to start growing this channel and being consistent. So yeah, I need your help to do that. Help support. If you would like to support, obviously subscribing and liking is the easiest way to do that. But if you wanted to do a little more, I'd greatly appreciate it. That would be a huge blessing to me on top of you already being here and watching. Super likes, super chats, super thanks. Those things are on my channel now. You can utilize those if you want. If you don't want to, that's fine. I still am grateful that you're here. there should be some kind of way for you to do that. I don't know. I just turned it on and hopefully it works itself out. I'm not good with technology. And also, before I go, I am going to be facilitating group meetings where, I really want to build a kind of Christian community here in New York City. But if you're not in New York City, that's okay, because this group meeting that I'm going to do is likely going to be virtual, where we're basically just going to like have a book reading group. We're going to read Christian literature about the Christian ideology, Christian doctrine, Christian faith, Christian perspective on the issues today. There's lots of literature out there. I really want to get into that with you all and actually have these conversations, because it doesn't seem like there's a community for Christians to sit critically with our own literature that's out in the world, written by Christians for Christians. So if you want to be a part of that, do let me know. I'm going to put down in the description, in the comment, a link for you to join and sign up for this group reading. I'm going to create a WhatsApp group so everyone will be in there. And then, of course, I will send you all what it is that we're going to be reading before we meet. It's likely going to be like a once every 2 weeks, once a month kind of thing. I'll send you all what we're going to be reading, and then we'll get together and we'll discuss it and build a community that way. So the link will be down below. Make sure you fill it out if you'd like to be a part of that. And I will see you in the next one.